San Jose. There's never a dull moment for Boris Lipkin, the man in charge of delivering the first high-speed rail segment, San Francisco to Bakersfield, to Golden State residents. The beleaguered project, which just received a scathing review from the California state auditor, is, at an estimated cost of at least $77 billion, woefully over budget and at least 4 years behind schedule. The authority is confident it has the money to deliver the project from San Francisco to Gilroy and from Merced to Bakersfield, but it's leaving the most challenging and high-risk portion of the so-called valley-to-valley span for last, the Pacheco Pass. The 13-mile tunnel is both daunting from an engineering perspective and is not yet funded. But despite the mounting challenges, the vocal and persistent nagging of naysayers, and hundreds of lawsuits lobbed against the authority, Lipkin, who officially took over as the Northern California Regional Director this summer, remains unflinchingly optimistic. Lipkin shared his outlook in an interview with this news organization. The interview has been edited for clarity and length. Q. What does the project look like right now? How far has the construction come? We have 119 miles under construction in the Central Valley. There are 3 different big contracts. That's our first set of mega projects, essentially. What they're doing now is a lot of bridges and the long lead time items. If you're building a giant structure, that's obviously going to take longer than putting a little berm up for an at-grade section. So, that's what's moving forward. We've invested about $4 billion so far. Ultimately, the project in the Central Valley will be about $10 billion, so we still have work to do, but we're certainly making really good progress there. It's been challenging. We started some of the work before we had all of the right-of-way, which was an issue, and we've acknowledged that, but ultimately that's progressing. If you go to Fresno right now, you'll see bridges going up everywhere. Q. What's the plan for bringing high-speed rail to Northern California? What the business plan laid out, it is the valley-to-valley line is where we want to start service. That's San Francisco to Bakersfield. We also introduced the idea of phasing that line. That means, okay, after we finish the Central Valley piece, let's start using it. Let's see what we can run there and connect up to the Amtrak San Joaquin's line that goes to Sacramento and over to Oakland, and then let's also look at, can we start some early service from San Francisco to Gilroy? Let's extend electrification all the way down to Gilroy and then see what service we could start there. The business plan introduced this new concept of using the Union Pacific Corridor from San Jose to Gilroy, and so we are adding that as an alternative to look at. We think this will add 4 minutes to the total time. That sort of isolates the Pacheco Pass. That's the next big piece of mega projects we have, that middle piece of it to finish the valley-to-valley line. So, where we're at right now, our next couple years' worth of work is the environmental clearance for these 2 sections. So, I have San Francisco to San Jose as one section, and then San Jose to Merced, including the Pacheco Pass, as the second section. Over the next several years, we have to select alignments, we have to do all the technical studies, and publish the draft reports and then do the final environmental clearances. So, those are the next pieces coming up. Q. What will the project look like in Silicon Valley? We're studying 2 alternatives that are going to be narrowed down to 1, but there are common elements between them. We want the corridor to run at 110 miles per hour, so we're going to have to straighten some of the track by trying to stay within the right-of-way where we can. That means, we'll have fencing and 4 quad gates at all the crossings to make sure people can't drive onto the crossings and get around the tracks. And then, the key differentiating questions will be whether we need passing tracks or not. The next piece is in Brisbane. We have 2 options for a maintenance facility, one on the east side of the tracks and one on the west side, and we have to select between the 2. And finally, the last piece is the approach to Duridan Station in San Jose. We have a couple different aerial structure options and an at-grade option, which is basically not changing the existing corridor. Q. What about tunneling? We looked at 9 different tunneling options. The planned BART tunnel under downtown San Jose is very shallow. For us to tunnel underneath, we'd have to tunnel even lower, and there's a high water table there, so there is a question of whether it'd be safe. And there's a huge risks, and the costs would be astronomical. So, we're sort of solving through the environmental process, how to add high-speed rail to this station. And, at the same time, what we've partnered with the Santa Clara Valley Transportation Authority, with the City of San Jose and Caltrain on, is let's develop more than just answering that question of how are we going to add high-speed rail here. It's what should the station be, and the long-range vision for it, and looking at something much bigger than what we could do ourselves. 2. What are the biggest challenges for delivering the San Francisco to Bakersfield line? The uncertainty of funding is certainly going to be one of those challenges. The other stuff is all doable. Sure, building the tunnel has risk and it's challenging, but nothing we're proposing is something that hasn't been done. I look at it from an optimistic standpoint. We need to get it right, but it's nothing that is unimaginable. The only kind of showstopper risk is if we find something in the environmental documents that is, let's say, an ancient burial ground, something that has huge implications. And the only other piece where there is uncertainty is in that San Jose to Gilroy section, and working with Union Pacific and whether we will be able to reach an agreement with them. But this is nothing new under the sun. When the Golden Gate Bridge was being built, it had 2,000 lawsuits against it. When BART was being proposed, people were calling it the San Francisco Bay Area boondoggle. It passed by 1 vote. So, it's not new. This is just how these things work. The part that is important is where we are trying to get to is something that really makes it easier for people to get around California and really ties our cities together. That's part of where our focus is. How do we grow, and what will California look like? Boris Lipkin, position, Northern California, Regional Director for the California High-Speed Rail Authority, age 30, hometown, Palo Alto, California, residence, Burlingame, California, education, master's degree in city planning from the University of Pennsylvania, bachelor's degree from UCLA with majors in business economics and geography. Facts about Boris Lipkin. 1. He speaks fluent Russian. 2. He has lived in all 3 counties on the peninsula. 3. He is an avid skier and scuba diver. 4. He has been a San Jose Sharks fan for 20, sometimes challenging, years. 5. He is soon to be the father of a baby girl.